will be a tremendous wave of people coming back to Eretz Yisrael, rebuilding Eretz Yisrael. It's all going to happen before Mashiach comes. And you see it happening, and look at the idiocy that we have to put up with it. You have an effectual government that allows the enemy, the sworn enemy, to shoot rockets every day. 10, 20 rockets, 30 rockets, shoot at will. Here I am, kill me, go ahead. They're begging him to kill him, and they try, the enemy tries. Yet the enemy almost doesn't succeed. I won't say they don't succeed, however, they should never succeed. But the fact that people aren't killed on a daily basis there, it's just one of the great miracles that Hashem is showing us, the hand of Hashem, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That these things happen, the rockets are shot. What is this? What does this all mean? Right? The fact is that there were times when they had intifada, that people would not go to Eretz Yisrael. I knew a family from South Africa, every year they were in Eretz Yisrael from Pesach to home. A nice family, beautiful people. I met them several times. One year he tells me, I can't go this year. He says, the television shows me all the pictures of the horrors of the Intifada. My kid's afraid to go. I can't go. I'm afraid to go. I'll go, but my child is afraid to go. I can't force him. He's like screaming and yelling and shaking with fear. He can't go. So you have an ineffectual government that doesn't care about its citizens and whatnot. You have this going on, taking place, day in, day out, and you wonder what's happening. But it's so stupid. This is the Yetzer Hara that we have in this generation. We have this kind of leadership that's not leadership. It's in every part of the world. We discussed a little bit of this Thursday, right? The whole idea of what leadership means. Leadership means someone like Mashiach, someone is Moshe Rabbeinu, someone leadership is like David HaMelech. Leadership is like Rashi, leadership is like Rashi. People who stood at the head of the nation and said, this is what we have to do, finish. Right? You don't have that today. Part of that is because of the Yetzer Hara of today. It's the shtus. The Yetzer Hara of today, Rabbi Nachman says in a place, has something to do with the person being big, getting covered. Right? Now, one of the most amazing things that you have in this generation is a person becomes a president of the United States, for instance, or a prime minister of Israel. You're in a very high position, so to speak, right? Prime Minister of England, whatever, right? But the media blast them every day. So where's the cover? They take the job for the cover. I mean, Bush had plenty of money before the president. $200,000 a year doesn't mean anything to him, right? But the president, look what the media does to him. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. Homered, whatever he, and so on. The idea behind it is the cover that's supposed to happen is really the cover of Hashem. Right? And that's really what you look about Bechlal, the Koyach of Eretz Yisrael. You take a look and see what Eretz Yisrael really means, where we said last night, we spoke, this is just a part, we'll just touch on it. It's the fact that Eretz Yisrael is the place where the covenant of Hashem, the Malchus of Hashem, the kingship of Hashem was supposed to appear, was supposed to be revealed and manifest. Right? That's where the covenant of Hashem is supposed to be, in Eretz Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu, for instance, when he was in Mitzrayim, right, he saw Vayar, Ish Mitzri Makeh Shivri. He went and he killed the Egyptian. The next day he went out, he found there were two Jews who were fighting, Dosan Davina. He says, Rosh Hashanah, what are you hitting your neighbor for, you wicked man? So they say to him, Halageni ato oimer. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, Ochei noida hador. Now we know the reason. What does Rashi say? Now we know the reason why the Jews suffer more than anyone else, why they had to suffer through this bondage. Right? Because they'll Torah, they're going to fight it, they fight between themselves, they have strife between themselves. Does this sound familiar? Right? Is there anything like that going on today? Because they have this, that's why they have to suffer more in Golas than anybody else. Along comes Reb Nosson, classic Reb Nosson, and he asked the question, come on, right? The Goyim don't fight among themselves? You don't have the same thing in the parliament, You don't have the same thing all over the world where they kill each other. Mugrabi in Zimbabwe, that's what they call it, Rhodesia, whatever. Right? Whatever is going on, all these different things that are happening, they don't kill each other. What do you mean, Ochei Noida, why the Jews have to suffer more than anybody else? And Rabbi Breslov explains the reason is because Klal Yisrael were meant to reveal the beauty and the honor of Hashem. That's the focus, that's the goal of Am Yisrael. You get up in the morning and you learn and you daven and you put on talis and tefillin, you keep Shabbos, whatever it is that you do, every mitzvah is meant to reveal there's a God in the world. That's the purpose and the goal of a Jew. The Goyim don't have that. They could have it. It's not that it's taken away from them, but they don't have it. Therefore, the Jew is involved with the covenant of Hashem. Anything a Jew does, anything, has to do with being able to bring forth the honor of Hashem. That's what it has to do. Therefore, Moshe Rabbeinu said, when they fight among themselves, they've already lost that connection of revealing the honor of Hashem. That's what they've done. They've lost it. And that's why they suffer. And that's why they suffer in bondage. This is what happens now in Eretz Yisrael. This is what's going on. All the idiotic fights that go on over there. You imagine that they had, what's his name, the guy who just died recently, Tomei Lapid, right? So he set up a political party that the intention of the political party was solely to fight religion. Can you imagine that? A guy sets up a political party that's meant solely to fight religion. So that fell apart after a few years, Baruch Hashem. Now, I understand, recently I read something about it, there's a new party about to form to do the same thing. But why? What? Because the covenant of Hashem is about to come out because of Mashiach. We are on the verge of Mashiach, we're on the verge of doing such tremendous things in the world to bring such beauty to the world. And because we are on that verge, the Yetzer Hara is fighting us much worse. So they come up with these idiotic ideas, the things what to do, all in order to be able to break that covenant of Hashem, to fight among ourselves, and what happened. You have the unity of Klal Yisrael. Why is this so important to Eretz Yisrael? Rabbi Nachman explains, and this is a yesod, this is really a foundation in understanding what Am Yisrael is all about and what Eretz Yisrael is all about, that it's called Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because it's Eretz, the land that receives its koyach from Yisrael, from Yaakov Avinu, Yisrael. Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz. Right? Yaakov planted himself. He sat there. He established himself in Eretz Yisrael, and that's what made Eretz Yisrael. The koyach of Yaakov Avinu, the koyach of somebody who brought kedusha and tahara to the world. I mean, Avram Avinu did it. Yitzchak Avinu did it. Yaakov did it. What Chazal called mitosa shlema. He had a complete. All his children were Yeresh Shemayim. He brought Yiddishkeit to the world. Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv. Rashi brings his Chosal, his Medrash, begiyuri aviv. He brought about a revelation of Hashem that even non-Jews wanted to join the covenant of Eretz Yisrael. They wanted to join up with Yaakov Avinu. So he brought Geirim in. So the taich of Eretz Yisrael means an Eretz, a land that draws from Yisrael, from Am Yisrael, from the Kedusha of Am Yisrael. The more we act as Jews, the more we act as we are supposed to act, the greater will be the revelation of Kedushas Eretz Yisrael. The greater will be the revelation of what it means, the fact that Eretz Yisrael belongs to Am Yisrael, and that the Arabs and everyone else should shut up about who runs the country, who owns the country, and so on. This is what's important for us to know. What is Yisrael? What is Yaakov Avinu? What does he represent? And this is a bit Kabbalistic, but we're not going to go too deep, so don't get too scared for those who are afraid of it. All right? But there are different spheres, different luminaries, different powers or energies that Hashem created. One is called Chesed, one is called Gevura. Chesed refers to kindness, loving kindness, always giving. Gevura refers to judgments, to din, to restraint, right? And then there's Tiferes. Tiferes is like a and inclusive of the powers of Chesed and Gvura. It's got its own power, but this is for the moment to understand it. Avram Avinu was called the Isha Chesed. He was a man who went out and he did this and he showed and he loved and he gave to everybody. His power of love was so extensive that he made Gerim, right? V'esa nefesh asher osu b'charon, Rashi says, all the Gerim that they made. Yitzchak Avinu was the power of din, the power of judgment, the power of self-sacrifice. What it meant to give up your life, everything you have, everything you stand for, to be willing to give it up for the sake of Hashem. How many people are really willing to give up something for the sake of Hashem? Right? A lot of people, you read in the stories, that give up the Olam Haba for Hashem. You hear stories like that, right? How many people have you heard that are willing to give up their Olam Hazeh for Hashem? Right? All the comforts that they have at home. It's one thing to give up your Olam Haba for Hashem, it's another thing to give up your Olam Hazeh for Hashem. Alright? Take it further and understand it in this way. Chesed means to always give. Always pour out and always give and overwhelm. Just keep on giving, giving, giving. If a person were to win the lottery, 100 million pounds, it's nice, right? But he doesn't know how to restrain his spending. He's got 100 million, he'll spend 100 million. He's left back worse than he was before. Because before he never had it, he watched what he did. Now he learned to spend and all of a sudden he has nothing. But he had all that pleasure and all that luxury, what's he going to do now? So he's worse off. So if you have chesed alone, you can't live. You have to live with judgment, with din. You have to have restraint. You have to know how to restrain yourself. You have to know how to limit that which you're doing and control yourself. You take care. Then when you have chesed, then when you have kindness, and many wonderful things happening to you, and you have it together with din, then you can succeed in life. So it's not enough to have chesed, you have to have din with it. If a person were to have din only, live only with restraints, no, you ever have a child, you tell them no. When do you ever say yes to the child, right? Right? No, you can't have this, you can't have that, but you can't live like that. You can't live with a life just with restraint. You have to have chesed, you have to have kindness in it. And therefore you have Avram Avinu, who first found the land, who found Eretz Yisrael. Avram Avinu made what he did of Eretz Yisrael to bring it to the forefront. You have Yitzchak Avinu, who also, Yitzchak Avinu was forbidden to leave Eretz Yisrael. And he brought it even in times of famine, he brought blessing there and so on. But it was limited. It was Yaakov Avinu that took the energies of Chesed and the energies of Gevurah, and he put them together in a perfect blend, and he made Tiferes. Tiferes is what's called in the Zoya Klolius Hagavnin, something that includes all the colors. What does that mean? Chesed is one type of a color, it's a white, let's say. Gevurah is a red, represents judgment and love, dinim, and so on, right? But Tiferes is a perfect mix of many, many colors, because Tiferes actually includes all the 6 spheres, what's called Zer, Ampin, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Yisoid. It's inclusive of all the different colors. What that means is that it reflects all the different, each color has its own beauty, and when they're joined together like a rainbow, with all the different colors, then it just shines beautifully. And that's what Yisrael, or Yaakov Avinu, represents. He represents the joining of all the different energies of Klal Yisrael, bringing them all together. Yaakov Avinu represents the Achdus, the unity of Klal Yisrael. And he represents the Emunah of Klal Yisrael. He represents the fact that all his children were religious, they believed in Hashem, And when he said to them, when he was about to reveal to them about Mashiach, the Shekhinah left him. And he said, maybe Chas v'Shalom, one of my children is not as he is expected. And they said to him, Shema Yisrael, listen Yisrael, our Father, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Right, God is one. What happens is that when they said that, what they did was they brought out the beauty of Am Yisrael. The 12 tribes, Gemara says we had it in the last couple of weeks in Bamidbar and Baloischa, when the tribes used to travel in the desert, each one had a flag. The flag was the color of their stone on the breastplate of the Kohen Gadol. Each one had a different color, but unified. The Klolius Agavnin, all the colors together, that was the beauty of Am Yisrael. When they traveled together, when they acted together, they acted in unity. So the power of Eretz Yisrael really comes from Yisrael, from the beauty of Klal Yisrael. What is Klal Yisrael? As we mentioned earlier, they're the ones who have the mission to reveal Hashem's glory in the world. So when we act like Jews, when we do what a Jew is supposed to do, we give out tzedakah, we do our chesed, we daven, we keep Shabbos, whatever it is that we're supposed to do, we act morally, we act honestly, and so on. So then we are bringing forth the beauty of Yisrael, and then we can bring forth the beauty of Eretz. We can bring forth the beauty of Eretz Yisrael. If we have these petty fights between us, what do you expect is going to happen? Right? We automatically conceal the power of Eretz Yisrael. We automatically conceal what Eretz Yisrael really means to us. It really means nothing, because I got to have my portion. I don't care what you want. It's what I want that counts. And when we have that attitude, then of course the land cannot give forth of its own. You cannot see the beauty of Eretz Yisrael. Right? The Gemara says, the covering of the earth is one. Right? So the whole Eretz Yisrael, the unity of Eretz Yisrael, only works when we're one. Without that, we don't see the beauty of Eretz Yisrael. Right? So now, what is our problem? Let's take a look at history and see how Eretz Yisrael developed. When they crossed the Jordan River, they came to the places they were supposed to go to, and then they started building Eretz Yisrael. The land was split up into different areas. Each shevet, each tribe had its own area in Eretz Yisrael. And the people started planting the land. They started trading. And you have to remember, geographically, Eretz Yisrael is the center of the world. At least it was then. And it probably is still now, if you think about it. I mean, I believe it is, but you can do whatever you want with that. But as far as Eretz Yisrael is concerned then, it was the crossroads between north and south, and it's the crossroads between east and west. It's at that point in geography. So it was a major point, and the Yidden who believed in Hashem at the time, right, they planted, and they had such incredible fruits and things that they were making that the tribe of Zvulun used to travel around. The Medrash says, Zvulun l'choy v'niyas yishkoin, right, they used to travel around, and they used to, people would see the fruits that came from Eretz Yisrael. This nation, there's something special about this fruit, right? What is it? Gemara in Tainus says about Shimon ben Shetach. In his day, this is the second day, not the first. In his day, when they used to grow wheat, the kernels of wheat were as big as the kidneys of an ox. Real big. Right? Each kernel of wheat. Right? The fruits of Eretz Yisrael, it says one Amora, I don't remember his name, he went, he was in yeshiva, he stopped going to yeshiva for a couple of days, he had to work in his harvest. He worked with the grapes. This is one day he took out a few hundred barrels. The next day he took out another couple of hundred barrels. And the third day he was still in the middle when his friend from yeshiva said to him, "Where were you?" He said, "I've been busy with the harvest." He says he took out, in the meantime, in a few days, he took out a few hundred barrels of grapes, of wine. And so on and so forth. The Gemara in Ksubas, the end of Ksubas, describes the beauty, the greatness, the large fruits and vegetables that they used to have, that was just incredible. This was the fruit that it gave forth, right? It wasn't until the time of the end of the Mishnah, Yeshua ben Levi, who saw that Eretz Yisrael still had very fruits started drying up, and they became regular fruits. So that until then, the fruits were just incredibly large and delicious, and they could sustain people for days, just the fruits alone. This was the koyach of Eretz Yisrael in the time of the first Beis HaMikdash and the time of the second Beis HaMikdash. And what it meant was that people used to come and see the fruits of Eretz Yisrael, and they would say the fruits are different, the people have to be different, the earth has to be different. So they used to come, and they used to see how the Jews, as diverse as they were, served one God. They used to throw away their idols because they all served many gods, and they used to become pagan. They used to convert to Judaism because they saw the produce of Am Yisrael. The produce means when there was achdus, when there was unity, the earth gave forth what it had to give forth. Furthermore, the koyach of Eretz Yisrael was so great that the people themselves, nobody could really conquer them. It was very rare. It wasn't until the idolatry spread so far that they were ever conquered. For once David HaMelech came up and established the Malchus, the kingdom of Am Yisrael, in the time of the Shoftim, it was different. But when David HaMelech established the kingdom of Klal Yisrael, nobody could conquer them. On the other hand, David HaMelech went out and conquered other nations. Shlomo HaMelech didn't have to conquer anyone. Everything was peaceful. Everyone recognized, because in the Beis HaMikdash, they saw the Shekhinah, the glory of Hashem. This is what happens when there's achdus, when there's unity among Klal Yisrael. There's a Beis HaMikdash built, everything works, everything claps, as they say, everything fits into place. When this unity was disturbed, unity means we serve the one God. Unity means that everything that we do relates to Hashem, the one God. When they started with idolatry, and today we don't have idolatry, at least maybe in some hidden places in Southeast Asia or in Africa, they have idolatry still today. But for the most part, you don't see it. But idolatry today, Rabbi Nachman says, is money. Right? When they serve the almighty dollar or whatever currency you want to use. When people serve their self-interests, it's also idolatry, because the Gemara says that arrogance, haughtiness, is gaiva. It's like avodah zarah. It's Gemara. So what happens? Anyone who serves a self-interest rather than looking at what he's really supposed to be doing and what's right and what he's supposed to, in that case, there's idolatry too. And we're serving many gods, because every self-serving person becomes an idolatry and a god unto himself. And when we have that, then we lose what we had. And we lost Eretz Yisrael. We lost it because Menashe brought in idolatry. After him, first was Ochaz, then Menashe, and then other kings, until Eretz Yisrael was given over to the Babylonians. And that's what happened there. So first to understand what the exile is all about, and this is where we are today. It's exile. It started then. The Jews came back to Eretz Yisrael, yes, Baruch Hashem, but we blew it again. We blew it with Sinah Spina. But the point is, what is exile? What's the idea behind it? The idea is sometimes when you're in the king's palace, you sometimes look at it and you think, well, here I am, I'm safe, I'm secure in the king's palace. And that's not true. It's not true at all. You're secure in the king's palace as long as you do what the king wants. The minute that someone in Buckingham Palace try to, do something that the queen doesn't want, right? He's out of a job, and so on. The same thing. We were exiled, from Eretz Yisrael, and as much as a punishment it was, you have to understand that Hashem doesn't really seek punishment. No matter what a person does, no matter how far he strays from Hashem, Hashem is never seeking revenge. Hashem is never seeking to harm the person. The exile itself is meant as a purification process. You didn't do it right, you didn't behave, you didn't act properly. So now you're going to go into a place where you're going to be forced to act properly. If you act like a Jew, so then you'll come back to your former glory. Because Yaakov Avinu represents the glory of Am Yisrael. And Eretz Yisrael represents the glory of Am Yisrael, because the Eretz, the land, draws from Yaakov, from Yisrael. And therefore, when we work towards that glory, which is to reveal the glory of Hashem, then we ourselves are back in place. We ourselves now come to recognize Hashem, and we get back Eretz Yisrael. That's what happened while they were in Bavel. They still had Nevi'im. Yechezkel was there in the beginning. And then they had Baruch ben Neriah. Then they had Ezra. They had Daniel, Hagi, Zechariah, Malachi. There was still Nevi'im at the time of the Babylonian exile, and they still exhorted the people to come serve Hashem, recognize Hashem. Now, we know, if you learn Sefer Ezra, that there was a lot of intermarriage. People fell. 70 years that they lived in exile, right? A generation, a second generation, a third generation, right? 25 years is basically a generation. By the time the third generation came around and they were ready to be, to have an exodus or to be redeemed from Bavel, it was the third generation. People had fallen into sin. And yet, Hashem took the people back and He brought them back to Eretz Yisrael. He rebuilt the Beis HaMikdash, and He gave us a period of 420 years. We Chazal established the Torah Shebaal Peh, the oral Torah, in which we're able to come and recognize Hashem. And here's a twist on what the Koyach of Eretz Yisrael is all about, and how we could see to help out Eretz Yisrael even today. Right? You don't need a JIA mission, is that what it's called? Right? JIA, that's what they call it. You don't need Israel bombs, you don't need all of that. What we need is understand what the Malchus, the kingship of Hashem, is all about. In the first temple, in the Beis HaMikdash, you had the Shekhinah, the divine presence of Hashem was there for all to see. And the Gemara tells us, you learn from the Psukim in Yechezkel, that the Shekhinah went into 10 different exiles until it finally departed from Eretz Yisrael. First it was on the Beis HaMikdash, then it went to the gate, then it went where the Sanhedrin sat, then it went to the outer gate, then it went into the city, then it went on to the mountain, and so on. Finally, the Shekhinah departed from Yerushalayim, from Eretz Yisrael. In the second Beis HaMikdash, you didn't see the Shekhinah, you didn't see the divine presence. But what you had instead were Chazal, were the tzaddikim, the ones who made the Mishnah, the Gemara. What happens? The Gemara says, the Zohar actually says, that Malchus, the Shekhinah, the divine presence of Hashem, is really the authority of Hashem. What is Malchus? If we say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, we are accepting upon ourselves what's called Oil Malchus Shemayim, the yoke of heaven. That's what Shema Yisrael is. That's what Malchus is, and we accept that. We accept the divine presence upon ourselves. That is the revelation of Hashem. In the second Beis HaMikdash, we didn't have that revelation, but what we did have was the oral Torah. The oral Torah came into being, because until then, it was given together wherever the written Torah was taught, the oral Torah was also taught. It was the same thing in the first Beis HaMikdash. The second Beis HaMikdash, it was already, they were beginning to forget the oral Torah. Where it says first there was one disagreement between Yosef ben Yochanan and Yosef ben Elazar, and then a few generations later there were 3 disagreements between Shammai and Hillel, and then all of a sudden the students of Shammai and Hillel, the Torah became like 2 Torahs. It was like split, what's kosher, what's puzzle, and all the different rabbinical decisions that you have today that are all split among themselves, you had then too. The same thing. But what Chazal are telling us is that the Sanhedrin also went through 10 exiles, just like the Shekhinah, because Chazal are the revelation of the oral Torah. Chazal are the interpretation of the written Torah, and Chazal therefore represent our acceptance of what Hashem wants of us. So today, by studying the oral Torah, we're actually attaching ourselves and binding ourselves with the divine presence of Hashem. That is called Malchus. The Zohar says that openly, that Malchus is Malchus Peh, Torah Shabbat Peh Krinan Lo. You have it in the Pasach Eliyahu and the Siddur. It's from the Hatoma of Tikkun Zohar. The point is that what you have is the Torah, the oral Torah, the halacha, the way we need it today. That's really the revelation of Hashem. So by us now accepting the oral Torah, in that way we are accepting the power of Hashem upon us today. That is the revelation of Hashem. This was unfortunately the biggest battles that took place in the time of the Second Temple. We had the Sadducees and the Mysosis who fought the oral Torah. After the destruction of the Second Temple, which included the creation of Christianity, which is already complete, like maybe the first Reformed Jews for all we know, right? They try to reform the Torah and turn it into whatever it is. They made a whole religion out of it. Shortly afterwards was the Gemara, shortly afterwards was the Goinim. Again, you had the Karaites came up. The Karaites, what? Again, they denied the oral Torah. Throughout the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages, when you had all the Mishumodim, all those who rose up against the Torah, all those Jews who converted to Christianity, and you had to understand the reasons that were taking place. The oppression by the church was so terrible that anyone who remained a Jew was the bigger chiddush than somebody who went away. But at the same time, many of those who turned against the Torah were those who went against the oral Torah. And Rav Nosson points out in the Likutei Halachos, you'll find that the whole battle for Judaism is what the oral Torah is all about. And that's really where we have to understand the power of the tzaddikim. Tzvi asked in the beginning, some of you weren't here, how is it possible that our generations will be able to overcome the final obstacles to Mashiach? How can we get Mashiach? And we said over a parable of Rav Nosson about a king who wanted to conquer a very mighty city, and he sent his strongest, his most mightiest warriors against the city, and they were all killed. Then he sent the second wave and the third wave, and they were all killed. And how can you breach the wall? Right? He said, take a look at the wall. The wall is already breached. It's broken and cut into little pieces. Right? That is us now, these tzaddikim, these warriors from the oral Torah. Right? All the different tzaddikim. Shimon ben Yochai in the Zohar many times explains the battles that the Rabbanan had in his time. I'm not going to talk about today. But battles that he had in his time, right, were all battles of Torah that were made to fight the Satan, made to fight the Yetzer Hara. Especially in Tikkun Chaf Aleph, he has a whole long piece about this, what it means, the different battles and the different weapons that are used, the different powers of Torah, and so on. But these are the powers that help us overcome. Now, even with women and children, people who are weak, we're not that strong. We're not like Rashi, who could stand up to the Crusades. We're not like the Rambam, who had to stand up to the Egyptian kings and whatnot. We're not that kind of powerful people that we had to stand up to all the Shabtai Tzvis and the Jacob Franks and all the things that happened. But we are people that have a tremendous amount of koyach. Because we have within us that Jewish soul, we have within us that tiferes. Tiferes means beauty. The beauty of all the different colors, the different faceted person that each person is. It's not that just the Jews are multifaceted, that each one is different, but each person himself is very different. Each person has tremendous koiches, tremendous powers in him. So we'll understand this better with the lesson of Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman said in lesson 282, he takes the Mishnah. The Mishnah says you have to judge everybody favorably. You have to do that. You have to judge everybody favorably. And he says by judging them favorably, you can actually bring them to a favorable situation. And then he says, you know what? You have to also judge yourself favorably. You have to find good not only in the other person, but even in yourself. You have to find that latent good that's hidden there, and you have to develop it and bring it forth. You have to make sure it comes forth, that you realize what a good person you really are. And we look at ourselves, I'm a good person. Yeah, of course I am. But didn't I just mess up? Didn't I just do something wrong? Didn't I really let myself fall into a rut? And didn't I mess up this situation? Didn't I do other things that were... And we look at ourselves. And most of the time, if you want to admit it, you're very hard on yourself. And you come down hard on yourself. And you say, boy, you really messed it up. You know, you have every reason to be depressed. You have every reason... And Rabbi Nachman says that's not the way to be. That's not the way you're supposed to be. You're supposed to look at the good that's in yourself. I did this little good thing, right? I did something good. I have good in me. And even if the good looks terrible, was how much good is there really compared to how much I messed up in my life? No, but I must have something else good. And I find something else good. But how much is that good? And I keep on going, I keep on looking for something good. And what I've done is I've strengthened myself. I've brought to my fore the hidden good that's in me. And if I find myself as a good person, then I'm not so hard on myself. Then actually I feel a sense of accomplishment. And if I have a sense of accomplishment, well, then I can accomplish more. Somebody who never got anywhere in life, okay, what do you expect from them? What do you expect from someone who never did anything good? But someone who accomplished, you could expect. And you can have high expectations. Look what you've done till now. So we can go further and further and build up. And this is very important to understand the powers that we have. Again, Reb Nosson takes a look at this and he says, think for a moment. Anyone here say Kaparas Erev Yom Kippur? Right, with the chicken or with the money, right? So before you do that, you say different verses. One of the verses is from Iyov. It says, Im yesh olav malach echad mini olav lahagad liodam yoshroi vayechonenu vayomot b'da'eo mined shachas motzos itchoif. If you find an angel that will find good 1 out of 1,000, right? It's enough to help the person overcome the din, the judgment against him, and judgment favorable. The Gemara in Shabbos takes this and looks at it and experiments it from different places. What does it mean that he has 1 angel out of 1,000? Gemara says that even if he has 999 detractors, 999 prosecutors that go against him, and 1 angel says he's good, then that 1 out of 1,000 is enough to help push the person in the side of merit. Reb Nosson, classic Reb Nosson, in the Kuta Halachos says, think about it for a moment. If the guy has 999 prosecutors out of 1,000, he says, what really hope does he have for anything good to happen to him? If he's got 1 little tiny 1,000th of something good, what's the 999? And he says, just think about it and say, Hashem, if I'm so terrible, if I'm so bad, that I have 999 detractors, then what do you want from me? What are you asking from me? How could you ever demand anything good out of me? If you put me in a position where I have 999 detractors, and that itself brings the person back to the side of good. Because knowing if I have everything said against me, then it's only from Hashem. If that's the case, then I have to do tshuva and come back. So really, the Gemara goes into this again and again, and the commentaries speak about it, because the Gemara says, so you have 1,000 acts, 999 are terrible, and 1 act is good. And the Gemara says, no, it's even more than that. If you have 1 act, only 1 act, and 999 parts of that 1 act are terrible, and only 1 part of that act is good, that also is enough to help bring the person. This is what it means, Yaakov Avinu, the Klolius HaGavin, the all-encompassing colors, right? What it means is you have to take everyone as they are and bring them forth into different areas, into different ideas, into different locations. Put yourself in their place, or put yourself in your own place, and check out and see where you are, and then you find out where Yisrael is. Then you find out what the true Jew is all about. And when you find out what the true Jew is all about, then you realize that you are the one who can bring forth God's covenant. Because if I'm so terrible, and I can be judged favorably, so then there's hope for everybody else too. And then we elevate ourselves. We have brought forth the glory of Hashem. By bringing forth the glory of Hashem, we have brought forth the glory of Klal Yisrael. If we bring forth the glory of the Jewish nation, then we bring forth the glory of Eretz Yisrael too. This is the power, what it means, the Tiferes, the beauty, what it means to understand what Eretz Yisrael is all about. Eretz Yisrael is just a means, not just, but just a means to be able to reveal the beauty of what's happening among the Jewish nation. So really, if we want to help Eretz Yisrael today, we have to study a little bit more the oral Torah. We have to adhere to the oral Torah, adhere to the tzaddikim. We have to understand that it's us, the ones that count. It's us, the people, that have to do the right thing in order to be able to bring forth the glory of Hashem. And we can do it by observing the oral Torah. We can do it by observing Shabbos according to the Shulchan Aruch. Or we do it according to davening according to the Shulchan Aruch. Or what holiday is coming up to 3 weeks. We have to understand that, come understanding the 3 weeks, the destruction of the temple, which happened because of the gaiva, because of the arrogance, the idolatry that every person had, becomes now the focus, or actually the vehicle, by taking ourselves and setting ourselves aside. I'm not going to serve my self-interest anymore. I'm going to serve Hashem's interest. And by doing that, yes, you're allowed to do what you want. Don't forget, we're not telling you here, don't ever do what you want. God forbid we should say that. Right? What we're saying is that you can take now your interests as they are, develop them, and make them come forward so that your interests now coincide and merge with what Hashem wants of us. What does Hashem want of us? What is He asking of us? We have to observe Torah. You have to be honest in business. You have to just do things right. You have to respect others. And by doing all these few different things, whatever it is that we do, we've already elevated Klal Yisrael, we've elevated Eretz Yisrael, so that all the detractions that we have against Eretz Yisrael will no longer exist. This is the main idea behind what Eretz Yisrael means. This is something that's been with us throughout the exile. Right? If you take a look wherever Klal Yisrael went in the exile, they were expelled from Spain, they were expelled from England, they were expelled from France, they were expelled from Germany, they were ghettoized in Italy, in many places, wherever, all across the European map. And wherever they were expelled, they went to someplace else, and they rebuilt their communities. And the glory of Hashem came forth again. And when that was broken, let's say by the Spanish Inquisition or by the Khmelnytsky massacres, the glory of the Jewish nation, they rebuilt themselves and they built communities again and they went forward with their Yiddishkeit. Yes, they were torn at the seams, they were broken, but the same thing with this parable, the walls have been breached. All right, and now we see a tremendous koyach of people returning to Hashem from all the different exiles. They were in Spain, they were throughout Europe, and they went back to Eretz Yisrael. They rebuilt the community in Tzfas. They were later on forced out of Tzfas after the Beis Yosef and the Arizal in the late 1500s, early 1600s. They were forced out by the Arabs. Right? Eventually they returned and they started rebuilding, and so on and so forth. This is the glory of Am Yisrael. And it's there, and it's waiting. Take a land, take a country that was battered after the Holocaust. Imagine that, 6 million people killed, European Jewry torn and just broken apart. And they went and they rebuilt the country. And they made a desert bloom. These are beautiful people, right? There are problems, there's plenty of problems. We know that. But the idea behind it is that Eretz Yisrael is because of Yisrael. And Yisrael is because of the beauty that we have, the unity, that we could reveal Hashem's Malchus in this world. Okay? This is a lesson, this is an understanding. We have that beauty, we can make it happen, it's up to us. Any questions? Feel free. If not just on this topic, it can be on any topic.
I don't understand this idea of a breached wall. So you've had this first bunch of attackers, and they've done damage to the wall, presumably?
Yeah.
And therefore, the wall should look pretty bad.
Yeah.
The defences should be pretty bashed up, right?
Right.
Then why is the Sahara more strong now than ever before?
He's not. He's actually much weaker.
Then why does it look like it
You
does?
had the Gemara says that the Eitzahara of idolatry, the Anshe Knesset Agdoila captured. They prayed, they fasted, they captured the Eitzahara, and they killed it. So that the idolatry that they had in the first temple was gone. If you'll notice in history, it was within a couple of 100 years after the Eitzahara was killed that basically idolatry ceased to be a form of worship. It was during the Greeks, right? They had many gods and whatnot, but shortly after the Greeks, there was almost no more idolatry. That was, Christianity is a form of idolatry, but it's one form. It's not the idolatries that they had. The Gemara tells a very interesting story. Menashe was the king of Yehuda, and he was in the temple, and he was a terrible idolater. Rav Ashi, I think it was about 800 years later, he was the one who sealed the Talmud. All right, Rav Ashi said one day, it's Gemara Sanhedrin, that tomorrow we're going to talk about our friend Menashe. That's what he said. That night Menashe came to him in a dream. He says to him, what's this with the friend? All right? Who's your friend? All right? He was a king. What do you mean I'm your friend? He said, well, you serve such idolatry, you're such an idolater. He says, how do you expect me to refer to you? He said to him, if you were living in my generation, you would have crawled on your feet to go serve idolatry. Right? That's how powerful idolatry was. But it was killed by the time Rav Ashi came around. I'll take the call. Tell him we're in the middle of your answer. Okay, there we go. So now, that was the power of idolatry. At the same time, the Gemara says they wanted to take the Eitzahara of immorality, adultery and things like that, homosexuality and all these different things, and kill that Eitzahara too. So they captured it, and they kept it for a few days. And what happened was that the chickens stopped laying eggs, and people just, their whole natural system broke down. And the Gemara says you can't do that. You can take something away that's not part of the natural order of the world. Take something away from the natural order. So what they did was they blinded that Yetzirah. So the Yetzirah of morality is blinded. It's not as powerful as it was in the time of the first temple.
What's the connotation of blinded?
Now,
What's the connotation of blinded?
Blinded means that it's much weakened. A blind person is not free to do whatever they want. They don't know where they are, they don't know what's happening, right? So now, what you have is a situation where the Yetzirah has been weakened. Secondly, a lot of the things that have been exposed to over the years have also broken the Yetzirah. Have also broken it, because he tried this, he tried that, it didn't work. The Jews are still here. He tried Holocaust, he tried Inquisitions, he tried different temptations. People succumbed, no question about it. But at the same time, people survived it. And the fact that people survived all these tests tells you that the Yetzirah was unsuccessful in a lot of the things that he tried. It's a question of the last push. All right? He's now pushing, he's pulled out all the stops. He's working on all different levels and all different things. But the Yetzer Hara is not more powerful today than he was years ago. He's not.
The world's a very godless place.
It looks big because you have the media today promoting everything the Yetzer Hara wants, right? He's got free advertisement, right? That's what he's got. Every day there's some other scandal, every day there's something else, every day there's some other picture he can put out, whatever. But if you don't care about it, if it doesn't matter that much to you, what he's trying to promote, right? I never read a newspaper, all the political news, I don't even bother. I may hear about this and that, I understand, maybe I'll glance at a few things. I don't bother with it. I look for the little short articles that are cute, that are of human interest and whatnot. I really buy a paper, not because I don't believe that, I believe you're not supposed to buy it. Nothing to do with that. There's nothing in there to read. Tell me what the paper has informed you of recently that has helped you in your life. Tell me. Anyone here in the room, tell me what a newspaper has informed you recently that's of any value in your life.
Business news.
Huh?
Business news.
So, okay, business news. You invest and all that. So if you're in those kind of investments, okay. But that's business, got nothing to do with the Yetzer Hara. Except if you fall victim to somebody who's trying to run a scam or something, that's a different story. But other than that, business is business. You have to go out to business and trade and deal with during your lifetime too. What has a newspaper given you that has improved your life in the last 2 months, 3 months? Can you tell me one article? No? Gee, surprised? Did you think about it till now?
No. I don't.
But that's what it is. You watch the television, so they have advertisements, or they have a show, this and that. So you enjoy the show, you enjoy that kind of movie, whatever it is. Big deal, right? Right? There was a movie out, I forgot the name of it. I didn't see it. Not because it just I didn't have got around to seeing it. Whatever. Who knows? I usually pay $1,000 for a movie because when I go on the flight, it's the only time I go to the theater. So on a flight, they show movies. I may see it, I may not. It depends on what's happening with it. But there was a movie about a couple of kids who tried a new gimmick. They went out into the middle of the highway on the dividing line, and they lay down to see if the cars would pass by. And they survived. This is maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So a couple of kids in America decided to try it. So they went into the highway and they got killed. Right? This is, what you call a great brain. You figure you can go onto the highway and lay down on the highway and not get killed. Right? And this is the kind of brain. So they blamed the movies for it. There was a whole system. I was in the States then. Whole articles going back and forth, you blame, how do you let them do it? How do you show these kind of films? I said, but when I was a kid, going back 50 years ago, more, right? They also showed crazy things on this. Nobody ever thought of doing these kind of things, right? It's the people themselves have nothing to do, so they make importance out of a television show, out of a radio, out of an advertisement, out of an article, right? Time, Newsweek, the important stuff, right? I used to have a subscription to one of them, and I gave it up. I said I hadn't learned anything in a year. I figured it'll keep me informed of what's going on. A year went by, I didn't find anything that didn't inform me, right? Nothing. What is it? The Yetzer Hara is according to what you're looking for, what you're looking at. There's plenty of problems in the world. There's always had problems. From Adam Mauritian, from the minute he ate from the Yetzer Hara, we got problems. Nothing new. Right, there's the guy with the Yetzer Hara, because he was born without a Yetzer Hara. Right? How did he eat from the tree? Because he was curious. Curiosity got him to eat from the tree, and that's when he got his Yetzer Hara. Because till then he was only toiv. When he ate from the tree, it was Eitz Hadas toiv vira. That's when the Ra went into it. Right? So that's a Yetzer Hara. Right? Today you don't have that. Today almost everything you look at really is nothing. You have a life to live it. Right?
Don't you also have to have an understanding of the people in power? To see what kind of people they are and how they behave?
How does that affect you?
Well, it affects my sense of security in some way.
Hmm?
Perhaps my sense of security.
Do you feel secure that since 9/11 there's no Arab that's going to attack you or cause destruction to you or something that's dear to you? Do you feel secure? This is now what, 9 years, 7 years? 7 years since then, right? Right? You've had a couple of prime ministers in and out since then? I don't know, but whatever. In America they had a president, same guy, whatever. In Israel they have a few different people. Do you feel secure? If I feel secure, it's not because of them. I assure you it's not because of them. If I feel secure, it's because there's a God who runs the world, and if He says my time is up, my time is up. And if He says not, I'm finished. There's no way you're going to be able to feel secure now. Just think of it, the ludicrousness of Muammar Gaddafi as sitting on the Human Rights Council in the UN. These are the things that are important to you, to see who's in power, right? Muammar Gaddafi, Libya, is on the Human Rights Council. And think about it, it's ludicrous what goes on in the world. There's no security, the people who are in power to find out who they are, what are they going to do for you? Do you have any direct contact to them? There may be some people that have contact, they should find out. There's always somebody who has a hand with government to try and help the Jewish situation. Whoever it is, let them be informed. What does it have to do with me? Most of my news I get in the mikveh. When I go in the morning, I hear the people talking. I find out what happened here, it's fine. Right? And if I don't hear it, it hasn't affected my life in any way. If you think about it, there's nothing to read, nothing they're going to offer you, nothing that these politicians will promise that will they ever give over to you and whatnot. Right? But take a look. The Medrash says that when Mashiach comes, every country is going to find a representative and send them to, everyone's going to want to be part of Yerushalayim. Fact remains, if you look in Tanakh, in Yeshua and Rashi, actually Rashi brings a little bit even in the Pashas Veschanan, Dvarim, Chermon. Chermon has several names in the Torah. Har Sion, right, it has called Sneer, and so on. And Rashi explains why is that, because Eretz Yisrael is a small tract of land. All said and done, it's a small tract of land. And yet, all the kings in the area, even if they didn't live in Eretz Yisrael, they wanted a place, wanted a portion of Eretz Yisrael. So each one captured a certain sector, and they named it what they wanted to have. So they named it Sneer, and they named it Sion, they named it Chermon, whatever. The 31 kings, there's not enough room in Eretz Yisrael to have 31 kingdoms, right? We have it in the Knesset, there's like 120 kingdoms. But what you have is 31 kingdoms in Eretz Yisrael. Rashi says, it's in Yeshua, that all the people, it's in Midrash, all the people, all the countries around saw the beauty of Eretz Yisrael, so everyone conquered a certain area, and they set up like, this is my territory that I own. They wanted that territory because of the beauty of Eretz Yisrael. The same thing will happen when Mashiach comes. Everyone will want to be part and parcel of what's going on in Yerushalayim, which is the center of everything that's going to happen in Eretz Yisrael when Mashiach comes. So now they're fighting over it. Right? The Arabs who couldn't even put the word Jerusalem in the Quran are now claiming Yerushalayim is part and parcel of their religion. Right? Their only book of religion is the Quran, and it's not even there. It's not even there, but now they're all claiming it. It's all part of them. They need it. They have to have it. It's whatever. It's a mishigash, right? You look at all the things that you read in the paper, and you can go crazy from it. You can be disturbed. You can be upset, right? Would you like to drink your morning coffee feeling good? All right? Take the book and read a novel or something. Don't read the paper. Don't listen to the radio. You'll feel much better. You'll have a much happier attitude the whole day. Just try it. I'm not saying that I'm 100% right or whatever. But if you think about it, what is it offering you? And that's the Yetzer Hara of today. The Yetzer Hara of today is that kind of it's just advertisement. That's all it is. It's promotion. The whole thing is promotion. Yes.
Wouldn't you be more inspired to change if you see the suffering in the world? Isn't that like just to change? If you see everything as perfect, you just put your head in the sand.
Oh, my head is
Yeah.
anything but in the sand. I can assure you that. My head is not buried. I'm aware to the suffering. If you would get the amount of phone calls that I get of people who are sick and pray for them, this kind of situation. Yeah, like I'm here in England. I left Israel yesterday morning. I came last night to London. I got a call. There's somebody in New York that has an emergency hysterectomy. I should pray for them. Right? I'm not even there. The guy had to try and trace me to a phone that I don't usually carry with me. Right? Finally, they got me. Right? And this is almost on a daily basis. I'm attuned to suffering. I'm attuned to suffering. My head is not in sand. Right? I don't mean not to read the newspapers so you don't know what's going on in the world. But I know there's suffering without having newspapers. Mugabe, what's his name? Mugabe in Zimbabwe, whatever they call it. It used to be Rhodesia. It was a normal country. They changed it to Zimbabwe.
And I see the world today, and I'm looking for good things to say. Help me stop going down that slippery slope. Then I'm walking through fields of gold, and every leaf's got a story untold. Every bird is singing out loud, hey, don't give up hope. One of the millions who are calling out to you. Oh, let our prayers get through and bring us home. One of the millions who returning back to you. Oh, let our prayers get through, yeah, bring us home. Together feeling alone, everyone's got a story of our own. What are we hiding inside that yearns to be shown? But no more can I hide this glowing soul that's inside. I wanna join with my brothers, no more arrogant pride. One of the millions who returning back to you. Oh, let our prayers get through, bring us home. One of the millions who returning back to you. Oh, let our prayers get through,